Welcome to Mind Renovation Nation, the show that equips, challenges, and empowers small multifamily investors to think differently, act boldly, and grow strategically. Brought to you by Red Maples, a real estate performance advisory service for small multifamily investors. This show is hosted by Nathan Bush, a seasoned property manager, leadership coach, and creator of the Caesar Method. Each episode dives deep into lessons from real-world experience, conversations with trusted mentors, and the proven strategies Nathan has used to build and manage successful real estate ventures. Today's episode is all about what's on Nathan's mind: raw, relevant, and real. If you're tuning in live, don't forget to drop your questions in the comments. Nathan will tackle as many as time allows. Subscribe now on YouTube for more actionable insights, and visit nathanbushmba.com for free resources to help grow your real estate business. It's time to renovate your thinking and elevate your results.
Do you ever wonder why you're attracting the wrong tenants to your property? Maybe they're not paying the rent, or they're destroying your property, or maybe you're just attracting tenants that slow pay the rent and you'd like your rent to be paid on time. Today's show, I'm going to talk to you all about how to spark instant connection, but to spark instant connection with the right representative of your brand. And so I've got just some good information to share with you today. You guys got to understand that connection is more than just something that happens. It's more than just a first impression. I've got some information today that is going to blow your mind. If you have not been with me or haven't watched my show for been through a number of different episodes with me, you probably are like, who is this guy? He's talking to us like he's a guru in real estate. I'm really not. I'm a property manager by trade. I'm not the person to learn how to buy all the different properties from, or how to buy, fix, and flip property, although I've done those things over my career. What I'm here to do is to give you the practical tools and systems that you can implement within your business right away if you're self-managing, or that your property manager should be implementing within your business if you are utilizing a third-party management service. And so this show will help you to be able to uncover today a little bit more about what this process looks like from the leasing perspective. Yeah, we're talking today about sparking instant connection, but how to spark instant connection with the right tenants. And so many people, they just don't do a good job with this. And I'm going to show you why and show you exactly what's happening. And maybe this conversation can carry over into other areas of your life. You can learn how to spark instant connection with people throughout all different areas of your life that's going to be beneficial. So hang in there till the very end, because I've got lots of information to cover today. All right, so let's talk about this. It says here, instant connection is about first impressions. And that's true. Instant connection is about first impressions. But I want to just think about for 1 second, how does that first impression happen? There's something that precedes the first impression. So let's just take random real estate agent Joe. Here's real estate agent Joe. He's happy. He's walking along. And then here's the tenant, right? The tenant is meeting them for the first real estate agent Joe, whether that's on the phone or whether that's, meeting real estate agent Joe at the property. But the tenant, you're making a connection for the first time. There's a problem with this thought process. This is what you think I mean by first impressions. But first impressions happen long before this interaction ever happens. And so there's something in psychology, and it's more along the lines of neuroassociative conditioning. And I don't want that to tear you away from the show today. All that means is neuro, the brain, associative, how you relate one thing to another, conditioning, how that happened over and over and over in your life. What happens is that we have this process that happens called framing in our life. And so I want you to think about putting a frame around this first interaction with this potential resident or the person that you're meeting for the first time. When you put this frame around it, it causes them to focus on that specific interaction. So the tenant knows that it's about to happen. The prospect knows that it's about to happen. You know it's about to happen. And so there's this pre-frame. There's an idea that the customer has in their mind. And this frame happens in every single interaction, in every single situation. So stop and think about this for the very first time. If you've never spoken to the tenant, but they've toured your house, they've already made an impression about who you are before you have that conversation. If you've never spoken to the tenant, but they go online and they can see hundreds or thousands of negative reviews about your organization, you've already given the first impression about who you're going to be when they meet you. You're not starting from an advantage if you have a rundown house. You're not starting from an advantage in the connection if you've got negative reviews online. Can you overcome those things? Yes, but today's show is all about this first impression. First impressions are more than just what they read online or the property that they saw. Also, first impressions happen to come from referrals of other people who told them about you. And so I want you to think about this first impression is a mirror, right? And you're seeing a reflection of something that's going on inside of you when you make that initial connection. By the way, let me ask a question just as a side note. Is it okay to repel people? Is it okay to not attract everybody? Well, yeah, there's a certain group of people that you don't want to rent the property to. These are people with poor credit that aren't going to pay their rent on time. That's going to tear up your property. We already talked about it. We don't want to rent our property to people with bad attitudes. We don't want to rent our property to people who aren't going to rent the property and take care of it like it's their own. And so here's the problem. In this pre-frame, there's a mirror that's up. And so you're looking into this mirror that's going on. And I noticed that a lot of times people are like, no, Nathan, we get all these leads online from our property description. Well, your property description, like I did in last week's show about character, your property description matters in the pre-frame to the relationship about you. And so all these things are the format or the precursor or the pre-frame to how that person sees you even before that first impression. So we can't get it twisted. We've got to stay focused on the outcome that we're trying to achieve, which is to create this instant connection with somebody. And we got to understand that that instant connection has a pre-frame. So I want you guys to think about for 1 second, describe somebody who you don't get along with. I mean, really think about this. There are people out there right now that you just don't get along with in general in your regular life. Who are those people? Let's think about this for 1 second. Who are those people? So are those the people that you just absolutely love driving next to in traffic? No. These are people that, quite frankly, they're moody, right? We have challenges with people who are moody. We have challenges with people who are insecure. Who else? If you're watching right now online or on replay, put it in the comments. Who is somebody? What is their personality like that you don't get along with? Yep, I see you cynical. Who else? Egotistical. How about unprofessional? Who are these people that you don't get along with? Moody, insecure, cynical, egotistical, unprofessional. How about selfish people? Or controlling? Do you see how moody, insecure, selfish people? So I broke these actually down into what I call the 4 different characteristics that repel people. Would it be helpful for you if you knew what the characteristics were that repel people? Number 1, we're going to call it unstable emotions. Have you ever been around somebody that just has these unstable emotions? Maybe they are moody, or they're insecure, or they're inconsistent in their behavior. These people with unstable emotions are difficult to get along with. And if you demonstrate in your initial connection your instability of your emotions, you're probably not going to be connecting with the person that you're trying to connect with. The second type of personality that we just have difficulty getting along with is somebody with the negative spirit. You guys remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh way back in the day? Thanks for noticing me. Yeah. But that negative spirit is somebody who's cynical, egotistical. They're just not they're just not excited about life. They're not excited about you. Just like that Eeyore situation, they just tend to drag the tone down. How about this next one here? The next one is called the toxic ego. This is the person who's selfish, controlling, manipulative, dishonest. You kind of get it. They lack integrity. They lack an understanding of being kind to other people. And then the last one I'm going to call is the lack of integrity altogether. R-I-T-Y, Nathan, R-I-T-Y. I'm writing on the screen for those that are listening online. So the lack of integrity is another character trait that just becomes a repellent to people and doesn't attract them to you. And this lack of integrity might be from somebody who's just dishonest in general, or you find the inconsistencies in what they're saying, and you're just not getting to the end result that you're looking for with this person over a period of time. The challenge with the manipulative personality type is they blend all four of these. And that's really the biggest issue when it comes to somebody that you don't get along with. So you first got to understand the pre-frame concept, right? Because if we can understand the pre-frame concept, that tells us that the person is already making judgments about the connection before the connection ever happens. And we have to understand if we're going to make a connection with somebody, what are the personalities of somebody who we just don't get along with? Well, don't be that person to that other person. And so I'm sure you can see where this conversation is going. If we've got personalities that we don't get along with, then I want you to take a second and just think about someone you like. Who's your favorite person? Who's your favorite person right now? How does that person in general make you feel when you're around them? Number one, that maybe that you're the center of their attention when they're around. Maybe this person might make you feel a sense of joy or comfort. This person might make you laugh. This person is somebody that is probably positive. This person is probably somebody that's very giving. This is probably somebody who's unselfish. Do you see the difference here that we're talking about? See, influence, the problem is that a lot of times we think, because we've grown up in a society that's just not exactly what I would say is the most kind society, we think influence is about having this megaphone and screaming at somebody like this, and this provides influence to them. That's not the way that this works. In fact, the picture is this, right? There's a connection. Somebody that gets along. This is repelling. This is connecting. And so you can see on the screen here, I have a picture of a guy with a megaphone, and he's shouting into it at somebody. And really the person that person's most attracted to is the person shaking his hand. It sounds so simple in and of itself, but these things are not simple. They're simple in conversation. They're simple to talk about, but they're not simple in practice. I challenge you, if you've heard this stuff before, if you're very aware of the things that I'm talking about on the show today, then I challenge you to do this. Some of the most detrimental words we could ever hear in our entire lives are, I've heard that before. Some of the most detrimental words we could ever say is, I've heard that before. What that does then is shuts out all of the learning that could possibly take place. I have to build a foundation on this whole concept of connection before we can go deeper. And I challenge you in this moment, if you've heard these things before, you know this stuff, ask yourself, how well do I do that? And that'll be a big shift in your mindset and be able to help you to be able to get through today's show with understanding that I'm just bringing some information together that you probably already have a pretty good understanding of, but I'm bringing to you from a different perspective. And that different perspective starts now. Let me ask you a question. What is the reason for buying real estate? What was your reason for leasing that real estate if you didn't buy it, but you're working for somebody who did? Or if you're a real estate agent, what was your reason for selling that property? What are you trying to accomplish overall? What's your goal, right? What are you trying to do? I challenge you to write those things down. Is your goal to earn a certain amount of money? Is your goal to, buy so much real estate and have so much so that you can retire? What is your overarching goal? Okay. Go ahead and think about it. In fact, I challenge you for this second, as we're going through this process, write it down. So maybe take your goals right now and write down a 1-year goal, right? What do you hope to accomplish? What do you hope happens in the next year? And then maybe write a 5-year goal down. And then a 10-year goal down. What does your life look like in the next year? What could it potentially look like in 5 years? What can it look like in 10 years from now? Go ahead and take a second and actually think about it or write it down. I want you to actually have a goal in mind. You guys got that goal down? Okay, one more second here. I'm going to wait for the last one to finish up. Watch this. Here's where the shift happens. Is there any inconsistencies between your goals, what you wrote down, and your answer to your favorite person and why you like them? Are your goals 100% pure motive? Are your goals focused on yourself or focused on others? This might just be the reason that you're attracting the wrong people to your property. This just might be the exact reason why we find it difficult to bring together what we want to accomplish ultimately, and having to work through others in order to achieve it. Because if our goals are us focused, we're repelling other people. We're not making the connection with the other individual. This is why it doesn't happen, guys. This is exactly why the connection doesn't happen. Now, if we're going to connect with other people, I want to walk you through this thought process. To grow a profitable rental portfolio, there's a 3-sided structure to your business, okay? There's a 3-sided structure. I'm going to walk you through those 3 sides right now. What object would you consider 3-sided? Yep, that's correct, a triangle. Draw out a triangle here on the screen. Okay, so we got a little bit of a lopsided triangle, but it's the best I can do with a mouse. Okay, we have a triangle, 3-sided structure. On the bottom of this structure, we're going to write the word stabilize. How do you stabilize? Well, before you can stabilize your business, I would challenge you to do a couple of things. Number one, seek a higher ground in your business. That might look like adding a level of values to your business. That might look like looking at the areas of integrity in your business and find, where am I compromising my character inside of this business? Where am I neglecting that I shouldn't be neglecting? That's what seeking higher ground looks like. I would challenge you to be more inclusive of everybody. Even though I talked about at the beginning of this show today, even though I helped you understand that you want to repel certain people, you want to repel those people not because you didn't include them or give them the opportunity, but you want to repel them because they chose not to do something that would harm themselves by moving forward in that relationship. They did something that they didn't feel persuaded into, that they made a logical decision that they could or could not afford, that's the place they want to or did not want to live. Do you see the difference? They're making a choice. The next thing, not only do you want to seek higher ground or include everybody, but you want to make a commitment to doing the right thing in every situation. Because when you're transparent and authentic, then the people that are supposed to come with you will be in alignment with you. And then the last thing is, you want to be able to speak the truth in love. If you can do these things, you stabilize your business. These are areas and places where you can stabilize your business. Once your business is stabilized, okay, we're talking about growth now. You're like, what does growth have to do with connection? I'm about to show it to you, but I got to walk through this first. The next arm, or the next side of the business, the sided structure, is strategy. It says strategize on the screen, okay? So we stabilize, that's the base of the triangle, and the left leg of the triangle of the sided structure is our strategy. When we build a good strategy, it might look like this. Deciding what actions that support others' growth. Deciding what actions that support others' growth. It might look like this. A strategy might be deciding what sacrifices for others you're going to make. So it might look like deciding what sacrifices for another person. What are you willing to give up inside of your business in order to hit your goals for other people, right? So what actions do I need to take? What sacrifices do I need to make? Then we need to determine what wise counsel we need to seek, right? That's how we put together a good strategy. We decide on actions, we decide on sacrifices, we decide on seeking wise counsel, and we take action to make those sacrifices, and we take action to seek the wise counsel, and we take action on the strategy. So that looks like this. There's movement inside of our business. First, we're stabilizing. Then we're strategizing. As we continue to do that, that pushes the last leg or the side of the triangle structure out, because these things will continue to grow. Do you see this? So we're pushing this, and it makes the triangle bigger. And as we continue to stabilize out, it makes the triangle bigger. And it puts this third side over here. This third side we're going to call scale. Inside of our businesses, scale then becomes becoming an encourager, becoming someone who celebrates successes of others. An encourager is getting scale in an organization. As the organization scales, about staying humble. It's about asking others to see the movement, getting feedback before giving authority to another person inside your business, right? This is scale. This is what it looks like. It's encouraging, it's celebrating, it's staying humble, it's asking how others see the movement. It is getting feedback before you give authority. It's asking others about how they see you and listening. And it's then giving authority to others. And it's a grace-filled presence. And it's giving grace to others as you do so, as you're growing and scaling. That's how scale works. So you continue, as you stabilize your organization more, you continue to strategize and you continue to scale your operations. That's how you continue to grow an organization. Here's the challenge with that. Remember, we just had the conversation about goals inside the business. When those goals are focused on you, meaning me, myself, and I, the problem is that the focus then of the business is focused on you. Here's the shift to make. Same triangle. What happens when you focus on others? That organization then, same goal, others in the center here. That same goal, we expand the business in all directions when we're focused on others. We focus on stabilizing others. We focus on strategizing for others. We focus on scaling for others. When we can do that, the business grows out, not in. You'll never be bigger, John Maxwell says, on the outside than you are on the inside. And so your business may be struggling. You might not be connecting with other people. You might not be getting instant connection with other people because your stabilization, your strategies, and your scale is all centered around you. If you can get those things focused and recentered and structured around others, look at how fast that triangle can grow. I was studying this and preparing for this today, guys. I thought that this was fascinating. So now I got the last piece. We're going to bring it all home today. All right. The question that we have to finish this whole program up today, as I'm teaching you on how to get an instant connection, is can you systemize connections with others? Can you systemize this process? How do you ultimately systemize connection? Well, I look at it like a ladder. Okay. I know lots of visuals today, guys, but this is how the teaching needs to be right now. This is what I'm feeling is the right way to teach this stuff. At the top of this ladder is the performance of an organization. This might be whatever success is defined as an organization. Good performance metrics, good operations, good income, good asset growth, right? Whatever performance looks like. But what precedes performance in every organization? Processes. We've got to have, before performance, we've got to have good processes in place. We got to have good systems in place in order to be able to get that performance. But the question then is, who runs those processes? Well, ultimately, that's people. Same is true. I want leasing, right? I want to lease the property faster. I want to build a connection with somebody. That's the ultimate performance, is to build an instant connection. What is your process for that instant connection? What process do you work through when you pre-frame the relationships that you're meeting? Your character of who you are, that people are referring people to you as. What have you done? What performance have you gotten before in your life? What systems have you installed before? And that pre-frames then for people who come into your world. And so all processes are results of how well people execute on those processes. And so you can systemize instant connection when you focus starts at the stabilization process around people. Do you see how that works? At the base of the triangle was stabilization. The way that we got that triangle to grow was we had on the left-hand side strategy, on the right-hand side we had scale. And we focused on other people, and that allowed us to be able to grow the organization out. What we're trying to receive performance now is that thing is growing, right? And we found that the performance happens because we have processes or systems in place, and those processes and systems are ultimately ran by people. So your organization and your instant connection is ultimately being driven by how well you invest your energy, your time, and your effort in helping those people at the base of your organization, whatever that happens to be, hit their goals. And with that, guys, that brings us to the end of another episode of Mind Renovation Nation. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. If you're watching live or on replay, please go over to YouTube and subscribe. Second thing is go to www.nathanbushmba.com and get the 5 to Thrive. I've got 5 different tips on ways that you can thrive and grow in your business. And then lastly, if you do all that, share the show. If you'll share the show, then friends and others who are just as excited about real estate performance as you are, they'll get an opportunity to receive this show every Friday at noon. And lastly, remember, this show is all about values-based investing. That's an extension of the philosophy of not only being a good stewards of our money, but being a good stewards of our relationships, being good stewards of every aspect of our lives. And so I'm going to sign off, guys, from the heart of St. Louis. Stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to build your nation. Thanks, guys.